Okay, moving right along with algebra, we're going to talk about function tables today. A function is a relationship between two variables in which one quantity depends on the other. So, if I have two variables, let's say A and B, whatever I do to A affects what happens to B. And you usually see these in the form of a function table. We have an input, the number that we put in, and then we have an output, the number that comes out of it. So we have an input, output. Input is a number that goes into it. Will I always know what my input is? What do you think? Will you always know what number you're going to put into it to begin with?
Well, there is that one.
You always know what you're going to put into it because they give you a number that you're going to put in. Will you always know what's going to come out before you solve it? Probably not unless you're good at mental math. So, function table looks like this. It could be long this way, or it could be tall and narrow. We're going to have it go lengthwise. What two variables do you think I'm going to be working with today? E and F. Why do you think that E and F would be considered a function? Why do you think these two variables would be a function? What do you think is going to go in the F row? The output. We know what the input is, right? We know what numbers we're going to put into the equation. We just don't know what we're going to get out of it, right? But do you think that the numbers we put into the equation will affect what happens in row F? Here's the equation. (45 minus 4e plus 1). Well, before we can move on, there's something that you need to remember. It's called order of operations. Order of operations tells you which order you should solve a problem. We start with P, which is parentheses. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally is what we usually say. This is exponents. You won't really work much with, well, you won't work with exponents really at all in 5th grade. This is when you see the little numbers at the top. What do you think the M represents? Multiply. And then we have this one, which is divide. And then we have this one, which is add. And then we have this one, which is subtract. When you multiply and divide, and you go in this order, okay, guys? But usually you won't see much with parentheses or exponents at your age. You will definitely deal with multiplication, division, and adding and subtracting. When you multiply and divide, you do whatever comes first in the problem. Okay? When you add and subtract, it's whatever comes first. But if you have multiplication and division first, you'll always do that before you add or subtract. So what's the first step that I will need to do on the problem? I have 45 minus 4e. What's it mean when a number is right next to a variable? You multiply it. So 45 minus 4e plus 1. What's the first step that I'll need to do on this problem?
Find out what e is.
Okay, find out what e is. So this is what you need to do on your papers. It takes time, but so my output is going to be f, and it's going to equal 45 minus 4 times, what's my first e? 1 plus 1. So what's the first thing I do to solve it now? I do know what my input is. It's 1. What's the first thing I need to do? Look at my order of operations. Do I have parentheses? Do I have exponents? Do I have multiplication?
Yes.
What's the first thing I need to do?
Multiply.
Multiply. F equals 45 minus, what's 4 times 1? 4 plus 1. And then I'm left with addition and subtraction. Remember what I said a little bit ago, you just go in order based on how it happens in the problem when it's adding and subtracting, right? So you start at the front. 45 minus 4 is 41. 41 plus 1 is?
42.
What does F equal? F equals 42. What's my input for the second problem? 3. So I would do it again. 45 minus, what's 4 times 3? 12. 45 minus 12 is? Can you do it in your heads or should you write it on your papers?
33.
See, correct? Okay, 45 minus 12 is 33. 33 plus 1 is?
34.
And you continue on like that. Notice these numbers are getting larger and larger. What's happening to the numbers on the bottom? They're getting smaller. So do you think that the next number is going to be bigger than 34?
No.
No. Also look for patterns, okay? So my input on the next one is 6. Figure out what the output's going to be. Solve it on your papers. Okay, let's see how we did on this problem. The input for this next one is 6 because the box below the 6 is empty. And remember, whatever you do with the E affects the output in the F. Here is my problem. 45 minus 4 times E plus 1. So you write it out. F equals 45 minus 4 times, well, what's E this time? 6 plus 1. Did I just copy that same exact problem, but this time I took out the E, which is 6, and put the 6 in its place, right? My output would go below the 6. 45 minus 4. Do I do that first? What do I do first? Multiply first. So, here's my multiplication problem. 4 times 6. F equals 45. I don't worry about that yet, do I? Minus, what's 4 times 6? 24 plus 1. And then I just go in order. 45 minus 24. So we have 21 plus 1 is
22.
F equals 22. Okay. Next problem. Try it, and then we'll go over it. Okay, we have the next box in which the input is 8. So F equals 45 minus 4. And what's it mean when the number's right next to the letter? Multiply. 4 times E. What's 4 times 8 plus 1. So your first step is to just copy the whole problem, but put the number in place of the variable. What's E going to be the next time? 9.
Oh.
So instead of putting the 8 in there next time, you're going to put 4 times 9. Order of operations. Multiply or divide first, whichever comes first. Here's my multiplication. Right there. So, copy the problem again exactly the way it is, but this time I'm going to do the first step, which is to solve the multiplication problem, right? So, F equals, just copy it all down again, 45 minus, oops, I got to the multiplication problem right here. 4 times 8 is 32. Am I done?
No.
What do I need to do? Oh, I have plus 1 still. Now I'm going to say 45 minus 32. It's always nice to check your work and subtract. Not try to do it in your head. 13. So F equals 13 plus 1. F equals 14. So my output is 14. Okay, take a moment, look at the next one. You're going to try to remember taking your time and writing out the problem every time, going step by step. So you start with the whole problem all over again. F equals 45 minus 4. Well, remember when the number is next to a letter or the variable, you multiply. And I'm to the E. So I look at my chart. The next E is 9. 4 times 9 plus 1. So let's go ahead. We solve multiplication first. 45 minus, what's 4 times 9? 36 plus 1. F equals 45 minus 36. I'm going to make sure I get these right, so I always go off to the side and subtract. That becomes a 3. That's 15. 15 minus 6 is 9. F equals 9?
No.
Oh, I forgot to bring down the plus 1. That's right. F equals 10.